Okay, so this time on the 46 Dodge, what I'm doing is I'm trying to get the body as perfect as I can before I connect the front roll cage to the cage inside the cab. So I made sure that the frame was good and straight before I started doing all the roll cage work, and then I rechecked it when I was done. And then I made sure that the top of the front end was level with that little nose part off of the hood part off of it. And now what I'm doing is I butted the levels up against the back of that little nose, and you can see there's a red dot on there. And so that level was level. I shimmed it, and I got a laser in front of the vehicle, and now what I can do is go over the whole body line, and you can see that I can level it all the way across. Okay, so you can see I could stick this ruler on here and get this level. You can see that I can hit this body line anywhere along here now. And you can see how far off I am, which is pretty close. It's probably within a quarter of an inch. And then I can just pivot that off to the other side, and I can do the other side too now. And then once I'm done with all this, I can just move the laser back there again and do the bed, but I have to take the bed off for a while. So you can see the two tubes that I put on for the roll cage coming back over to the cab. And now I'm going to show you how I connected those. Okay, so you can see I took some weld nuts. Unfortunately, put two extras on there. I got to cut those off. And I welded those onto the frame. And then I drilled down through them and tapped them. And I put these 3/8 bolts in. And that way I could take this whole entire front roll cage off, so I can get the headers out of here real easy. And then at the far end over here, you can see I put a rod end on there. And that way I can adjust that in and out and move the cab forward and back to line it up with the hood. And I'm using this old wood paneling once again for a template, and then I stuck it underneath the hood whenever the hood was down, and before I did that I laid this piece out, which was this is off the S10 cage, so it was already bent. So I just laid it on here, cut this piece rough with extended ends, then I stuck this under here and trimmed it down the sides, and then I cut the metal piece from that. So this one I made out of paper. And I got the square ends off of this flange and off of where that flange is going to be. And then I drew a 90-degree line off of that, 90-degree line off of that, off of the centers. And that's how I'm going to get the curve. Okay, so then I laid it on the ground here, and I set my protractor for what ended up being 30 degrees is what that worked out to be. And then I bent this steel piece on my bender. And I can line it up with the two ends and get it to where it's centered, and then I'll know where to cut these two ends, and then I can weld the outside flange on and the inside flange and shove it through from the outside of the cab to the inside, and then weld it to the cab. Okay, so I had this flange, and it was bolted onto the inside of the roll cage here, and then what I did was I took this piece of tube and I got it lined up with the bar that was sticking off the front of the frame, and so that way the force would come through the bar straight and it wasn't offset through the plate too far. And I left a little bit stick through the firewall. Then I ground it so it was flush. I had a little bit bigger hole than what the flange is, so I could get the grinder in there and hit it good. And then after I did that, I put the plate on, tacked it, took it off, welded it, put it back through again, bolted these on the side of the bar in the front that goes up to the front of the frame, and then tacked these on and then welded it. So I cut a hole here in the firewall, and I moved the firewall in a couple inches because I wanted to get as much foot room as I could. And so what that ended up having me do is now I have to realign my steering column because my steering column isn't centered in the hole. So that led me to work on the seat. So now I'm trying to fix the seat so I can fix the steering column so I can finish the roll bar. So it's a big cascade of stuff. So you can see I cut the bottom of the seat. I took out 1.5 inches, 3/4 inch on each side, and split it, and then I'll show you the other side where I already welded it together. So what I did there was I stuck an 1/8 inch piece of rod in each one of these little channels, and then I welded all those channels back together, and I welded the frame back together, and I used this piece of 1/4 inch on the side on each side to make sure that it's fairly straight. And I'm hoping I don't have to get a different seat cover. I think I can get stock seat covers and still fit it on, because it doesn't look like the top's going to change, just the bottom, because the top had clearance to the roll cage.